Yo, I am really excited at the fact that you've taken the next step in your journey and coming to discover iNgage. It means the world to me, and of course, Lady B, that you would do this. You might be saying, "Who are you?" I hope you know who I am because you just got finished church and you decided that I'm joining today. But if you don't, I'm Pastor B, and what we want to do at Discover iNgage is just give you a little information, a backdrop about who we are, and then what are some of your next steps in the journey. And so I'll just give you a quick introduction of the start of our church, a little bit of some of the values and what we believe. And then hopefully from there, you'll have enough information to continue to pray about, is this the place that God is wanting me to be planted? And so our church, man, really started from a movement. And a lot of people don't even know that we weren't a church that came from being sent out of another church as much as it was a young adult ministry that started here in the DMV area. Oh, at this point, 10 years ago, which is crazy. And it was just a bunch of 18 to 25-year-olds who made up their mind that they loved Jesus. They were passionate about God. They wanted to serve him. And we would meet on Saturdays, and we would do that for once a month, and then it grew to multiple times a month. And then before you knew it, we had about 200 people who were meeting and worshiping, and we were seeing God do some incredible things. And it was around that time that God started speaking to me about planting a church. The reality is, like, I always knew I would be a pastor, but I didn't think it would be at this point in my life. I thought I would live for a while, maybe past like at 50, something like that. But God had other plans for me. And so as I was seeing just young people come together with hands lifted and hearts just being turned and salvation is happening, I was like, man, God, I believe that you're pulling me and you're calling me to pastor this church. And so we were meeting at DC at the time, and my wife and I, who is our shell, of course, we were driving around Waldorf and went past Westlake High School. And, and I remember it clear as day. We're driving by in Middletown Road, and God says, put the church there. And I can promise you, I was like, that ain't God. It is no way we are supposed to be in Waldorf. And as you know, God had different plans for us. And so as we began to seek that out more and search that out more, it became very clear, very evident that God was asking us to plant a church. I'll save you the long story. If you really want to know, man, stop me in the hallway anytime and I'll share it with you. But over the course of the next year, from 2014 all the way through 2015, we decided that, you know what, this is what we're going to do. We're going to step out in faith, and we're going to trust God, and we're going to believe that he's called us to plant this church. And so we came to Waldorf as a movement in 2015 for 1 year. And here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking no one's going to show up, that it's not going to be well attended. And our first Sunday, first Saturday, it was wall to wall packed. It was November, like whatever that first Saturday in November is in 2015. Maybe they'll put the date at the end of the screen because our AVL team is that dope, right? But that was the Saturday. And I remember it was packed. And believe it or not, right now we're at a St. Charles location, right on Smallwood Village Center. And the church actually met right across the street from there. So even being in this building really is like a full circle moment for this church. But we were there, and this jam-packed wall to wall. And I told our share, I told you it was going to be packed, even though I'm like, yeah, right. And then the next Saturday, we have church, and legit, it's like 9 people in the room, and my family accounts for 5. And this is a real critical moment in our church because we're having to decide, are we going to continue to trust God? Are we going to continue to step out on faith and believe that he is who he says he is? And of course, obviously, you're still here. We decided to do that. And it's been an incredible journey. We launched this church on September 25th, 2016, just 1 year later, through miracle after miracle after miracle. But the reason why I always share this story is because I think it's important for you to know that this church was founded in faith, man. It was founded in, man, we didn't have a whole bunch of money. We didn't have a bunch of people. We didn't have, all of the grand stuff that you might see now. It was myself, our shell, and 12 other individuals who decided to step out on faith, trust God, and believe that he could do anything. And this is where we are today. And so I'm so glad that you're here. I'm glad that you're making a decision to say, hey, you know what? I think this is a place that I want to be. It's a place where I would like to grow. And what I would love to do is just give you some insight as to just kind of how this place is ran, how decisions are made. We've got 3 layers of leadership here. Our first one is we have overseers. We have three pastors from three different churches who they are the ones who I am accountable for. And then right under our overseers, we have a board. Our board is made up of 7 individuals, and they're the ones who set the pace and the course for the entire year. And then the layer right under them is our leadership team, which is ran by, I don't know, at this point, 14, 15 people that are all a part of this church. And we're setting the pace for the day-to-day operations. And so the way we're ran is that there's a group of overseers. Those are pastors from outside churches that I answer to. We then have a board who sets the pace for the year. They're the ones who are setting budgets, and they're the ones that I'm accountable to on a week-to-week, month-to-month, year-to-year basis. And then we have a leadership team who is running our day-to-day to make sure that we're able to operate effectively and efficiently. We find that having 3 layers of leadership, it really protects our church. It protects the people that are ready. It protects our shell and I. It allows us to be able to do things where there's checks and balances and there's integrity all across the organization. We are a non-denominational church. And so what that means is that we're not a part of any affiliation, which is why we believe that the 3 layers of accountability is so important, because it allows us to just be in good standing and to make sure that we're preaching and teaching God's word unadulterated every step of the way. As you begin to journey throughout iNgage Church, one of the things you'll hear me say quite often, as you'll hear other people, maybe if you're around campus, is that we believe that joining our church is not necessarily a decision. We're like, what do you mean it's not a decision? Yeah, we believe it's a calling, right? Like we're called to be at an iNgage church. And here's one of the biggest ways that you'll know that. If it's a decision, what it means is that I made the choice. And so I can leave and come and go whenever I please. And please hear me, we're not going to hold you hostage, right? But when it's a calling, it's saying that, man, there's something bigger, there's something more. I'm not just coming because it feels good. I'm actually coming because I feel like this is the place that God has sent me. And maybe you're asking yourself, how do I know if I'm called to this church? Well, there's 3 questions that I think you should ask yourself, or 3 things I would love for you to consider so you can know, man, hey, am I called to this place, or is this a place that I like? Here's the first one. Are questions being answered that no one knows you're asking, right? Like maybe you're sitting in the messages and you're like, yo, me and my wife was just talking about that yesterday, and now it's being talked about this Sunday. Or maybe you were driving in a car and you had some questions and some thoughts and some things that you were wrestling with, and you didn't tell anyone about it, but you came in and the message happened to speak right to that situation. It could be a sign that God is calling you here. The second thing to consider is, man, when you come here, is there like a tugging at your heart? Is there like confirmation after maybe it was a sign that you saw that said welcome home, or it was someone saying you belong here, or it was just a group of people who, man, when you got around them, all of a sudden you felt comfortable and you felt that peace, and when you leave, there's tuggings to come back. When you hear about joining a team, there's tuggings to say, hey man, get planted, why don't you start serving and get in community? Like if there's tuggings there, it's a good chance that you're probably being called. Here's a third one. And there's one that I think is pretty crucial. When you come here to this environment, to this community, is this a place where you're like, you know what, I can contribute? Like there's some gifts and there's some talents that I have, and I see some things that I can help make this place better. Do you start using inclusive language? Do you go from saying their church to our church? Or to this is my community, or like these are my friends, right? Like when you start using that inclusive language, it could be that this is a place where God is saying, hey, I want you involved here. And I'm not here to convince you of that, right? Only thing I'm here to do, what the first step of Discover iNgage is designed to do, is to help you discover that. Hey, is this the place where God is calling me to belong? Is this the place where God is saying, hey, this is where I want you to get planted? And I believe that part of those decisions is you got to really have a vision for what's like, where are we at? What's the vision of the church? And really, the vision of our church is really simple. We want to see people grow. We want to see lives transformed, and we want to see our community impacted. We really, that's the structure and the nature of which we do everything. We're asking ourselves that question over and over and over again. Are people growing? Are lives being transformed? And our communities impacted? And I believe in this church so much that I say this quite a bit. If you give this church a year of your life, it will never be the same. In fact, I want you to hold me to the fire. I want you to ask people who you know serve at this church, people who are committed, and ask them, how has your life changed in a year? Because I just heard PB say the wildest thing. He literally said, if I give this place a year of my life, that it'll never be the same, that it's going to change drastically. Is that true? And I promise you, you'll hear story after story after story of how people's lives have changed. People who couldn't have children are having children, people who've gotten jobs and gotten promoted and have made relationships and were hurting and broken and now smiling and serving. I mean, it's incredible the amount of stories that God is using this church to really impact. We believe that transformation is a real thing, and then how we are impacting our community. Man, it's one of the hearts of our church is to make sure that we're involved in our community in a great way. Year to date, we've given away over $450,000 in a little less than 8 years to our community. How incredible is that? That's through missionary work. It's through scholarships. It's through paying off student lunch debts. It's mortgage assistance. I mean, it's so many things that we've done, and that really happens through the generosity of people here, but it's because we believe that we're called to impact our community in a major way. And one of the ways, or three of the ways that we're committed to that. And this is relatively new, and so people are beginning to learn this now. And I thought, how amazing would it be for you to learn it right here in Discover Engage? What we are trying to do every single week we come into these doors is three simple things: reach lost people, mature saved people, and put all people in community. Reach lost people, mature saved people, and put all people in community. And the way we do that is through 4 experiences that we have here at church. If you're watching this on a Sunday, you just experienced the first one. It's our Sunday worship experience. We believe here that at our church, we don't have to give you everything on a Sunday. And so if you notice, our experiences really, really aren't that long. To be honest with you, I'm trying to get them shorter, but I think we kind of found our sweet spot. What we believe is that Sunday for us is the showroom floor. It's to give you a little bit of insight or to give you a teaser of what we have to offer here. And so you're going to get worship, you're going to get a little bit of a word, and you're going to find community happening. And we're always hanging out in the courtyard, and we're always giving out food and all of that stuff. Is because we just want you to experience Jesus one. You know, we use Sunday to say, how do we reach lost people? How do we mature save people? How do we put people in community? And as they come on Sunday, what we're hoping is you'll then begin to funnel into some of the other experiences that we offer. And some of those other experiences, like a Faith Wednesday, where if you're like, man, I just love the word and I love being fed the word and I love growing in the word, or maybe I even want to grow deeper in the word. Faith Wednesday's for you. That's every first Wednesday where we come together for about 90 minutes and the word is the focus of the night. And we're going to grow in our faith and we're going to grow in our understanding of the Bible. Another experience that we offer here is Oasis. Maybe you're like, yo, I just love like the sacraments. I want communion and I want to grow in my word, yes, but I just want to worship. I just want to lay at the altar, right? Whatever it is for you, you want to run around. Man, that's our Oasis nights, and that's going to happen on a Friday night once a month. And it gives you the opportunity to just be free, man, to take communion and to really see some of the other expressions of our community. And then, of course, we end that with food trucks or some type of food gathering. And again, what we're doing, we're putting people in community. And then another experience we offer happens every 5th Sunday called At the Table, where we don't say, hey, we're not going to be just 4 walls and call that the church. No, the people, the body is the church. And so we have people who host people in our church in their homes at tables, and we break bread and we pray with one another and we fellowship. And we believe that that is the church. That's the ecclesia. That's the Acts 2:42 model. And so that's what we're trying to funnel people through. It's the system we believe that God has given us. Now, I know I've given you a lot, and hopefully, you know, you've been able to follow along in your journal. But I'm really, again, just trying to give you some insight and give you a way for you to process the decision that you're making, which I believe is a big decision in your life. Where am I going to plant my family? We hope that it's here. But my heart for you really is that you just plant wherever you're going to grow, that you get planted and you get established and you go to a place where your family loves, you love, and you're going to meet and encounter God. Now, here's the last one. is that we have 5 pillars here at our church. And so if you're saying, okay, how does all this work? I understand there's a vision. Yes, the vision is to see people grow, lives transformed, and communities impacted through the hope of Jesus Christ. And how we execute that is through our worship experience on Sunday. It's through Faith Wednesday. It's through our Oasis nights, and it's through At the Table. But all of what we do rests on 5 pillars. And these are 5 pillars that we stand by, 5 pillars that, any organization should be held up on something. And what we hold it up on is the first ones we're going to worship. We believe that worship will legit break shackles. We believe that worship will cause you to experience Jesus in a way that you have not ever experienced him before. It's in the presence of God where we hear his voice. The second one is prayer. Now, if you've been here on a Sunday, and definitely if you come to Oasis or you come to a First Saturday prayer, you'll hear this: prayer moves mountains, it calms storms, it settles the heart, and it brings peace. We believe that's a pillar of our church. The third one is faith. Now, that's the cornerstone. If you stay around here long enough, I promise you, you're going to be like, okay, this is a faith church for real. It's who we are. It's what we believe that we're called to do. We're supposed to step out on faith and trust God. The fourth pillar is generosity. Hey, man, I'm just going to tell you like it is. We're a church that believes we're called to be generous. At our church, we talk about finances twice a year here. We talk about it in March. And when we talk about it in March, the whole idea is this, man: how do I steward well what God has given me? So it's not just the tithe, it's all of it. How do I steward well what God has given me? How do I take care of my finances? And how do I show God that I can be trusted with more? So that's March. So every year in October, we do something called the Legacy Offering. It's the last Sunday in October where we ask every willing partner, every person who's a part of our church or in our community, to give something above and beyond what they usually give. Now, why do we do that? It's to accelerate the vision of our church, right? So the normal tithes and offerings, that takes care of the day-to-day. But it's through the legacy offering where we get the opportunity to accelerate the vision. It's how we do things like Legacy of Hope, which is our annual Christmas drive. It's how we're getting ready for our next location. It's how we do expansions and so many other things. And so we do that every single October. So we spend 4 weeks just talking about, hey, man, what can God not get to us, but what can he do through us? And so we're excited. So it happens 2 times a month. And so we just believe that we're called to be generous, man. A generous church makes a difference in the community. And then lastly, our 5th pillar is sound biblical preaching and teaching. We're in a day and age when anyone can get on Facebook or TikTok and start preaching. And I do not advise that for your life. So I'm not saying that I need to be the person speaking truth to you, but you want someone speaking truth. Is it sound? Is it biblical? Is it found in the word of God? And here we believe that we're supposed to be making sure that everything that we say is truth, not what we want, not what we would like it to say, but what has God really said. So those are the 5 pillars of our church: worship, prayer, faith, generosity, and then sound biblical preaching and teaching. And so as we bring this to a close, there's 3 things that I would like for you to do from here. The first one is, are you called here? I know you want to make a decision, but the reality is that we want to make sure that we've got called people who say, I'm willing to put my feet to the fire, put my hand to the plow, and this is where I'm supposed to be planted. And we want to see God do something amazing in your life. Second, maybe you came in here, you're like, I already know I'm called here. Resounding yes, resounding yes, resounding yes. Let me first say, I love you, welcome. But secondly, here's what I want you to do. You need to join the dream team. And you'll hear more about that in a couple of weeks as you continue to come to Discover Engage, but you need to join a dream team. We believe that a great church is a serving church. And listen, we don't want you to join a team because we need you. I don't know if you know this, but we pull Sunday off without you. No, you need to be in community. We want you to be in a place where you can cry with people, talk with people, laugh with people, and begin to see God work through you in this community. So you got to join the dream team, and you'll get more information about that. And then thirdly, are you ready to give? Again, we believe that we're called to tithe. We believe that we're called to be generous to the church. And so those are the 3 things that say, hey, what do I do next? Because I'm ready to join the community. Okay, are you called? Are you ready to join the team? Are you ready to give? and let's continue to pray and believe God for what he's called us to do. So I'm excited. I hope you've enjoyed Discover Engage. As you continue on this journey, man, be praying and saying, God, is this where I'm supposed to be? And stop me in the hall and say, PB, I just went to Discover Engage so I can give you a high five, love up on you. I'm so grateful that you're considering to call this place home, and I cannot wait to see your life change. I love you.